as I mentioned, I'm from Estonia and representing a company or a startup called MeetFrank, which is a HR player. We have been building this for the last 3 years, and it's that kind of consumer-driven marketplace that helps the talent side in Europe at the moment to kind of fulfill their career potential, and we help them to kind of progress in their career and everything that is kind of around it. So we have been relatively successful, so being one of the fastest growing HR startups in Europe at the moment.
So how did you end up working in the HR space? Before, if you go back 3 years back, and what triggered this startup?
Well, like my background isn't related to HR at all, but HR is something that we're all connected to, because almost everyone has a job or you do something for a living. So it's a huge part of our life, and the kind of searching for a job or having this easier way of kind of achieving my potential just came into focus at some point, because I was working in a large corporations, and you see a lot of people who are unhappy. They are a little bit kind of dissatisfied. They are actually ready to move on, but they also are extremely passive. So the kind of water cooler talk. They say that, yeah, like I would like to do X and that, or I would do something else differently, but they don't do any actions in order to kind of improve their situation. Instead, they hope that someone comes and solves the problems for them, and then we try to kind of build a service that makes it easier and allows them to be a little bit more reactive towards the market instead of being proactive.
Right. And how are they being reactive? What's the difference between a normal HR portal and what you're doing?
So having MeetFrank in an essence this kind of decentralized system, but the basic idea is that companies are the ones who make the first step. So while you use the service, you constantly have tens or hundreds of offers from companies who are actually interested in hiring you. And a huge part of our business is actually providing the overview about the market. So even if you don't want to change the job, we can kind of give you estimates how likely and how quickly would you find a new position if the time comes.
Right. So tell us a little bit about Estonia. Estonia is far away from Pakistan, and so what is the country like? How long are you Estonian yourself, and what's happening there?
Yeah, I'm Estonian myself. Estonia is a small country, extremely small compared with Pakistan. So we have like a population of 1.3 million only. Okay. But we're really kind of technology advanced. So it's a fun place to be. The extremely strong startup ecosystem. A lot of the unicorn companies who are now kind of global or at least pan-European players, and almost everything is solved by technology, because because of the lack of people that we have, or the kind of volume of people that we cannot use.
Yeah. So I think you have an e-residency program as well in Estonia. Yeah. What is that about?
So it's as I said, like most of the things that we do are solved through technology, and the e-residency program gives you access to the technology platforms that we have, so that you can use the same services provided by the government if you want to run your business in Europe, or if you're living in Europe. So but it's mostly, yeah, if you run your business through Europe, you can do most of the things remotely, and you can use the kind of legislative system that we have over here instead of kind of flying into somewhere else.
Right. So tell me about MeetFrank. Why this name?
So it's so Frank is a character. So MeetFrank is the AI character inside the product, and Frank means straightforward. or saying something promptly. And this has been one of the core values of the brand, which is bringing more transparency to the job market. And making sure that you have all the information up front and there's no vagueness related to the positions or with the people that are on the platform. So that's by Frank. And Meet comes from the fact that you can meet either the character inside the app, or it also kind of represents our core business, which is connecting companies and talented people on the market. And Frank is also the name of our office dog. So probably it also has an impact on the selection of the name.
Right. So the office dog was there 3 years ago as well when you were starting off?
Yeah. The office dog is older than the company.
Right. And so let's dig in a little deeper into the product itself. What you're saying is that you, instead of the job seekers applying for jobs, you get the employers to offer jobs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to some extent. So we allow companies to target specific user groups and let them know that, hey, we're interested in I don't know, a Java developer or a high-end marketer, and we do this in a way that we don't expose who the users are on the platform. So one crucial part is building up a system where you don't have the stress of being a job seeker or being tagged as a job seeker, because quite often it isn't the most comfortable place to be. You don't want to post on your Facebook wall, for example, that, hey, I'm looking for a new job. Even though being open for offers isn't anything negative, especially if you try to kind of optimize your own most valuable resource, which is your time.
Yeah.
So that's the core of the product.
Right. And what sort of clients are you working with in the European market?
So we have like a little bit more than 5,000 companies on the platform, and it's a huge variety of companies. From we work really closely with startups, with startup community, especially companies who lack the kind of strong B2C brand, meaning that their brand visibility in general is low. But it goes from large corporations to really early stage startups and everything in between. So the SMBs, the conventional companies, brick and mortar stores. Building up this, our kind of focus has always been to build a consumer first product and build up a consumer facing brand, which means that you need to have the right mix of companies and offers on the platform as well. So probably the people who are listening in today are really kind of startup minded, but not everybody wants to work in a startup. So how can we kind of deliver value, and also how can we deliver you the comparison points, what's the difference in startup and enterprise and salary wise, for example, or kind of work conditions wise, so that you can kind of build up a better understanding on the market.
Right. And so you said that the 5,000 companies that use your platform are in all sorts of verticals and they're in different countries as well. Which countries do you target?
Yeah. So we have customers all around Europe. So, but yeah, 96, 97% of our customers at the moment are from European countries. Right. So Central Europe, Baltics, Scandinavia, are the main regions where we operate at the moment.
And from a user acquisition perspective, what has been your most effective strategy or path to success? Like,
in the end, the strongest user acquisition strategy that you can have is to build a really good product. Yeah. So if you provide enough value, and you kind of align your communications, which means that you don't over-promise and under-deliver, but you a little bit under-deliver and over-promise. This is the kind of the most important thing for your organic growth or kind of scaling up your company. Everything else around that is secondary, the way how you build up your kind of marketing strategy and so on. But as long as you actually focus on providing the value that you promise, you are good. So this has always been our kind of main focus. Is the product and the value proposition strong enough? And what can we do in order to constantly push it forward and improve?
Right. And from a user perspective, you said 5,000 companies, and how many people are signed up on the platform?
I think now it's like
Or how many applicants?
350. I think it's like 350,000 users, something like
Okay.
that. So
Right.
so quite a lot. We also need to kind of factor in that our platform is mostly built for high-end professionals at the moment. So we're
Right.
talking about white-collar jobs, and mostly people who work in an office. So we're expanding the verticals, adding new verticals in every quarter. So started out with, I think, 6 verticals. Now we have 22. Hopefully going to be around 30, 25, 30 by the end of this year.
And how many people get employed on a weekly, monthly basis? What metric do you use, and how are you doing on that?
So it's hundreds every week, but yeah, because like the how many people are employed are more dependent on how many job offers you have on the platform, not how many
Yeah.
people you have. So we have around 2,000 concurrent job openings at any given point of time.
Right.
But they come and go, because like HR business, or this kind of job marketplace business, is a really tricky business. The more successful you are, or the better you are for your customers, for the B2B, the quicker you lose a customer. So
Yeah.
if you come to the platform and I find you the perfect candidate in a day, you leave in a day as well, because your position is filled. So
Yeah.
it's not like unlimited resources from the supplier side. But on average, we have like 2,000 openings on the platform.
And do you have a concentration in terms of which verticals you have more job offers, or is it spread across the 22 categories?
Well, it's spread across 22 categories, but we are stronger in the kind of technology. So everything related to technology, from DevOps, software engineers, and this kind of a lot of supporting roles like technical engineers, customer support or technical support, and of course design, project management, and things like that. But it greatly kind of is connected with technology, and then the second half, which is also strong, but there isn't so many. The market volume in general is a little bit lower. So there's more job openings. There's more roles for software engineers, for example, than there are engineers in Europe. So that for that reason as well, this vertical is one of the strongest that we have.
So post COVID, has there been a change in terms of how many people want to employ employees locally or remotely? Do you see a difference?
Yeah, we see a little bit difference because of the COVID, the market changed quite a lot.
Yeah.
So like when you look at from the average company's perspective, their focus from growth shifted to retention. So when the kind of business operations were damaged or they were halted, they didn't focus anymore on how to hire new people. They focused on, okay, how can we keep the people that we have safe? How can we keep them employed even if our main KPIs are going down? So the markets in Europe dropped 50-60%.
Right.
Now we're seeing a recovery. The recovery is actually, the pace of recovery is actually quicker than we anticipated on the first go. But the recovery is still low. Remote is a new form that companies need to do. What was like previously a really big market in Europe, which was relocation. So people actually relocating for a job is at least is temporarily more or less closed.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing, what is on the rise, and it probably isn't a surprise, is this kind of project or freelance-based jobs. So from both sides. So what companies are looking is that because they don't have this kind of security for the future, they don't know how the market is going to recover. They also kind of are looking for kind of work types that have a lower commitment than full-time employment. So contract-based jobs where it's a little bit easier to hire, a little bit easier to kind of end the contract, and you don't feel this kind of obligation to make sure that if something goes wrong, that you're also responsible for that person. So the freelance jobs are growing quite rapidly at the moment.
So considering that companies are generally constrained in terms of resources, and trying to survive this period, and if work from home becomes a norm, do you feel that there could be a shift in terms of hiring people from outside Europe as well, who cost less, full-time employees who are stationed somewhere else? Because if the team is working from home, then it doesn't really matter if they're where they live.
Yeah. So if the kind of working from home or remote
Yeah.
remains on a high level, then sooner or later companies will start looking talent more aggressively outside of their operating region.
Yeah.
Um, but the motivations probably will be different. Of course, for some companies, it's about the cost, or can I hire the same kind of quality people in a little bit cheaper manner. But for most companies, probably it's, can I find higher quality people, even if
Yeah.
the salaries are higher. And
True.
and companies need, they expand because it gives them a much kind of broader reach, and
Yeah.
kind of increases their chances for success. Quite
Yeah.
often the local ecosystem is already exhausted. So I
Yeah.
don't know, that's the same reason why large corporations or a lot of kind of scale up companies hire straight from university to get the kind of first hand access to the best talent in their kind of local to local market.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we move remotely, then probably we will start hiring globally.
Yeah. And focus on quality, not necessarily
Yeah,
price.
yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that being limited to your own city, in terms of hiring, is a very big limitation for a lot of companies. And if you can hire globally, then you can access the kind of talent you probably wouldn't find in your own city.
yeah.
Right. In terms of MeetFrank's ambitions, what are your ambitions, and in terms of serving your users and creating more value for them?
So yeah, it's actually quite simple to kind of build the best product possible for the users, but also to kind of expand our operating region. So as you probably already know, one of the reasons why I'm in this call is that we're looking into Pakistan's market, and in the region in general. So is it possible that the model that works in Europe can work on that market as well? And our kind of plan is to build up with this kind of global company or global brand, step by step, within the next 5 to 7 years.
Okay, very good. And in the last 3 years, what has been your greatest challenge, and the most difficult thing you had to face, or the difficult time?
Well, there has been many. Doing like building a startup, it's a roller coaster, constantly going up and down. And
Yeah.
but it's a typical marketplace problem that we face. It's called the chicken and egg problem. So how do you scale the two-sided marketplace in a manner that everyone is happy? So
Yeah.
on some markets, when you start, you have too many applicants and not enough companies. Then you have enough, like a lot of companies but not enough applicants.
Yeah.
And of course everything related also to kind of fundraising, making sure that you have the resources to kind of execute the plans that you have. So we have experimented a lot with different things, how to kind of increase the value proposition. Some things work, some things don't. But in general, we have kind of managed. So as long as you do this continuous work on improving things, you will be good.
So, on this, from a challenge perspective, I'm sure COVID also affected your business, in a way to put you in a difficult situation. So, but from a timing perspective, was it acceptable timing for you? Because, sometimes a startup is about to raise money, or, it has enough funding, for the next 8 months, 10 months. So, two companies can be in different situations. What was your situation when it happened?
So, like, timing for this kind of disastrous event for the entire society can never be good.
Yeah.
And timing can never be good to any company. But now, if we talk about the fundraising, let's kind of break it down. If we talk about the fundraising, then the VC companies or the investors that you have are essentially our business partners, or at least this is how we are kind of perceiving them. That
Yeah.
they invest into our company, but we also kind of expect them to be partners for us, not only with the kind of investment, but also kind of investing their time and other resources that they have. So in MeetFrank's case, it seems that we have selected the right partners, meaning that they have kind of helped us or provided the support that we need in order to kind of overcome the situation where some of the KPIs or even revenue numbers are dropping. So it has been good. Secondly, startup. If you're a startup, the situation for us wasn't so shocking like it was for a conventional company, for example, because we have always been there and fighting for the customers and fighting for the market share and doing more than this kind of old school companies. So for us, the situation was more kind of, we were more used to it, and this helped us to kind of play on our strengths a little bit better than before. So in the end, our kind of drop or kind of damage to the business wasn't as huge as it was for the entire market.
Okay. So tell me about the general funding environment in Estonia and for Estonian startups. Do you have a large ecosystem of local investors, or do you also look at Scandinavian investors? And are the two markets integrated? How are things there?
Yeah, so Estonian kind of startup ecosystem is extremely strong, and this means that also the kind of VC or investment infrastructure is strong. So quite a lot of funds from early stage to a little bit later stage. Quite a lot of angel investors. But now if we talk about Europe, then there's this pretty much unified European ecosystem. So you don't need to kind of source only locally. Of course, we're really close with Scandinavia, but we're also really close with Central Europe. So we have investors from Estonia, like locally, like VC funds, but also from London and from Czech Republic. So So and pretty much from Belgium as well. So from Central Europe and from local region.
Right. So and in terms of dealing with people from different markets like Czech Republic or Belgium or London and in Estonia as well, do you feel there's a cultural difference between them, or is the European market pretty much the same everywhere and people behave the same way?
Behavior is similar, not identical, but similar. But it's a pretty much one cultural space already, and with their own little details. But we haven't had any problems of dealing with people from different countries. So surprisingly the same.
Right. And so Akib was telling me that you've recently decided to explore Pakistan as a market. What are the reasons for that? So,
like, first of all, we like the region. Pakistan, of course, extremely large market. But your kind of startup ecosystem is booming. So like the developing rate of things is much greater than you see in Europe. And it seems like a right time to jump on the growth train as well. In that sense. So there's a lot of things happening in local to local space. A lot of new companies popping up. As I understand, like a huge focus on innovation and how to make things better and how to make kind of people's lives better through technology. And now people actually have access to the resources to kind of build it and make it happen. And this makes the market for us extremely kind of interesting.
Okay, great. And you intend to expand further in South Asia, or or Far East would be the next market?
We hope to, yeah. So we're looking in India, for example.
Okay.
But let's see how these two market tests go. We don't actually anticipate. We're after talking with a lot of people from Pakistan and dealing with Akib, who's been really great as a team member.
Mhm.
We don't see so much differences in your market and then the European market, because like
Yeah.
the internal what is the most important thing is the kind of internal drive of the people
Yeah.
and the users, and do they have same motivation to kind of achieve more than they're currently doing. And we're seeing
Yeah.
that in your region it might be even higher than in Europe, where we're getting maybe a little bit lazier. So we have high hopes, but let's see how it goes.
Right. So other than work, you've been traveling a lot before COVID, at least.
Yeah, to some extent.
And so which are your favorite countries?
Oh, Estonia is always my favorite country.
Really?
But outside Estonia, I'm big fan of Berlin, in European countries, and Lisbon, but also Africa. Like I think it's one of my favorite places.
Okay.
But I think Berlin's ecosystem is developing, and it's much more relaxed compared with London. So, but that's my personal preference only. And Lisbon, which has been this kind of booming startup ecosystem place with nice weather and great kind of culture around it. So one of my favorite places in Europe.
So I'm sure Akib must have mentioned we're hosting this National Education Challenge, in which the idea is to pick the top 25 learning innovators in the country. Tell us a little bit about education in Estonia. Is it as digital as your business processes, or is it very on ground?
So it's much more digitalized than in other countries. So you can get most things done online, but huge part of it still is on ground and on site, especially if we talk about higher education. And I personally don't see that higher education could go online, or higher education will lose so much of its traits if it only goes online. Because if you talk about higher education, then this is the most important time of your life. And it's not only about the learning, of course, it's extremely important, but it's also a huge part of it is the experience.
Yeah.
Like meeting new people. This is for a lot of guys, this is the first time when they get out of home, and you form new social relationships and new friendships, and you develop as a person. And this is something that cannot be underestimated if we talk about the kind of higher education in general. So to actually kind of provide the experience, besides the knowledge only kind of approach that, hey, let's do everything online, and you're going to kind of accumulate a lot of new knowledge, but you don't get the experience at all. But I think the higher education levels in Estonia are really high. So our kind of high school is one of the strongest in Europe, or the kind of level, and higher education. We have really strong universities, a lot of international students coming in, and it's quite fun.
Excellent. And in terms of innovation, any examples of startups which are doing innovative works in the learning space, in the education space in Estonia that you remember?
Yeah, there's a couple of it's a company called Clanbeat, for example, helping teachers and students to kind of have a better structure in remote work, if I remember correctly. Then there's this one really cool company called 99 Math.
99 Math, okay.
And what they're doing is that they're trying to make this kind of, they're doing this kind of gamification elements into learning math, especially for this kind of younger audience. So how can they be more engaged and doing this kind of real sciences? And there's definitely more, but I haven't looked into this space too.
Right. So, you told me that MeetFrank's primary responsibility is obviously, you have potential employees and employers and connecting them, and most of it right now is for on-location jobs and not for remote. And but as you sign up more users from places like Pakistan, would cross-border remote employment be an area you'd be exploring more, or would you try to concentrate companies and employees in the same markets?
Well, we started out with the local to local, but now remote is a huge part of our business and a huge part of our business operations. And
Yeah.
previously, the fastest growing market that we had was relocation market. So our product focused on relocating people based on their aspirations. So
Mm.
we kind of removed the location from the algorithm entirely, and
Okay.
instead we ask you what you want to do. And let's say you're going to say that, hey, I want to work in a unicorn. I want to work in a billion-dollar company
Yeah.
as a head of as some I don't know business development manager.
Yeah.
Then we compiled the feed and offers all around Europe or all around the world, but only unicorn companies to make
Right.
sure that you actually get all the offers available, so that you don't think, okay, what are the unicorns in London, but
Mm.
hey, here's a unicorn from Sweden, for example, and you'll probably have much less competition if you actually kind of if you want to follow that green.
Mm.
This was a huge market for us, but once the borders closed, this market collapsed. Hopefully temporarily, but now it's remote. So what has always made us different is that we believe into that people don't work for positions, but people work for companies,
Mm.
which actually kind of makes sense. So when we make the offer, the 90% of the resources and time that we use are actually to introduce the company and to provide context around the company. What is the company doing? Who are the people working there? Why this company is cool? How this company compares with others?
Mm.
And this has helped us to make the transition into remote and cross-border quite easily. So,
Mm.
like, if you're from Pakistan, you can open up Meet and you get an offer from I don't know, Estonian company. We also take a lot of time to kind of explain what the company is doing.
Mm.
So and through that we have kind of opened up the market quite a lot. So cross-border uh, is extremely important kind of business vertical for us.
So you just said that you explain more about the company's culture and so on. How do you explain it? Do you have videos, or do you have photographs, or do you have stories?
All of them.
All of
But
them.
at the moment, if you open up a regular job opening, for example,
Mm.
then 95% of the data is about the job position,
Yeah.
and only 5% is about the company. Maybe a few lines, a company name and the logo. If you
Yeah.
open up the kind of offer from MeetFrank, 90% of the information is about the company, and only 10% is about the position.
Right.
So yeah, pictures, product pictures, videos, images, things like that.
Right. So you mentioned the challenge of building a marketplace in which you have to balance both sides in each market or each category, right? What sort of network effects do you see playing into your growth going forward? Are there any network effects which are which make the product more useful as more users sign up?
Yeah.
And how does that play into your user acquisition strategy?
So marketplaces are kind of extremely easy in that sense that
Mm.
business generates more business.
Yeah.
So and more business doesn't dilute other business, but the more marketplace participants you have, the more successful your marketplace is.
Yeah.
So we are seeing those effects, of course. So the more users you have, the more kind of happy users you have, the higher your organic growth. And our organic growth is like 70+%. So most of our users actually come organically, not paid acquisition. In B2B, it's a little bit more difficult. So in B2B, like the social connections are much more loose. So the average recruiter or average kind of business representative doesn't have too many other people in their social network that are also responsible for hirings. It's like the
Mm.
same thing, like software engineer doesn't only have friends who are software engineers, they have friends from all the spectrum. But building up the virality in a product that is also this kind of semi-anonymous has been a kind of difficult challenge for us, and we haven't solved it throughoutly to kind of have a stronger strategy into this kind of virality of user acquisition. So it has happened organically for us, but we're working on improving it. How can we kind of emphasize it a little bit more?
So tell me one thing. I mean, I know your company also emphasizes anonymity of the potential employee, and but how important is that? Because as long as the employee, it's like having a LinkedIn profile, and if I'm not applying, then I'm not actively looking, but companies can reach out to me. So even if I have my name there or not, how important is being anonymous?
For some people it's more important than others, but in general, in order to make you a really good offer, we don't need to know who you are, because like on the first go, even if a company makes you offer on LinkedIn, it doesn't make you an offer based on your name. The offer is made based on experience, so the name is actually irrelevant. But it also causes a lot of stress. So now if you compare it with LinkedIn, is that it's true that companies make you offers all the time. Our job is to make sure that when you actually need those offers, you get all of those offers on demand and have the right selection. Because like in LinkedIn, you don't have any control. You can open up your LinkedIn. Let's say you need a job today. You open up your LinkedIn and you don't have any messages in your inbox. Maybe something will come up tomorrow or next week. But what if you need it today? So our job is to make sure that those messages are in your inbox when you actually need them, not when the company needs to hire you, because like your schedule doesn't always sync up with the company's schedule.
So what you're saying is that as a job seeker, I show my intention to the platform that I'm now looking, and then based on that intention, you you suggest them to different employers, and then they obviously make job offers. Is that the difference between LinkedIn and you?
Yeah. So but you necessarily don't kind of you don't need to say that you're looking. We're constantly kind of bringing you the companies or looking for a talent like you. So that you always have this kind of overview about the market, but most importantly, overview about the micro market that is relevant for you. So let's say you're a senior designer, then you only actually care about the offers that are for senior designers, not all the 500 offers of designers in the market. So how many options there are for you, and what is the kind of the conditions of the market, if it makes sense.
Right, absolutely. And who do you see your competitors in the European market? Is it LinkedIn, or is it somebody else?
Yeah, LinkedIn is always the kind of big elephant in the room. This kind of player that we cannot ignore.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, the toughest competition that we have is local to local classifieds portals. So the classifieds portals that have been on the market for 20 years, 25 years, because in order to be successful, we need to break the habit that the companies have. And the companies have been using this local to local classifieds for 20 years or 15 years. And now we need to convince them that there's also other means, and this isn't the most optimal way to kind of reach out to talented people. So this is the kind of second tier of competition that we constantly need to face, and there's a lot of startups. So the kind of HR space is quite filled. So there's a lot of startups that you compete with, but none of those startups actually have that kind of high significant market share like LinkedIn or the local classifieds have in that specific market. But yeah, LinkedIn is always a good company to beat.
Right. So what's your pricing model? Do you charge job seekers? Do you charge employers? Do you charge for advertising? What do you charge for?
No. We charge employers only. So the kind of that part of the marketplace who needs to fill a position. So it's free for the job seekers or the talent side. and it's gonna be for the talent side, hopefully forever. So yeah, companies who need to hire are the ones who pay. The different models, mostly subscription-based model, to get access to the system and use the system and connect with people and kind of save up your history and build up your kind of connections and relationships.
Right. So as an employer, you sign up for free, but then to have more access to the data and the platform, you upgrade probably to a pricing plan of some sort.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else you would like to add? Let's see if we have a few questions. Akib, would you like to ask a question? Akib, you can turn on your audio video and ask a question if you want, and we'll take 1 or 2 questions and then.
Sure. So I think it was very well defined by Kaarel. And I think in terms of our positioning here in Pakistan and kind of testing out, of course, one question that always pops up is from the talent side, like that talent wants to know what's happening and how do we get access to this. So I think one of the key areas that maybe Kaarel can talk about is how do we primarily kind of go after getting that amount of talent against the number of offers that we have.
So what was the kind of specific question? So how do we acquire customers, or?
So Akib, what was the question? I also didn't exactly get it. So maybe Akib can't hear us. I think Kaarel, he probably wanted to ask that do you have is there a obstacle in the sign up process? Can anybody sign up? That's the first question.
Yeah, everybody can sign up. So
it's open.
So like the kind of our success normally, like most in our early success, was built upon the fact that we had the simplest possible sign up ever. So instead of taking this kind of 30 or 45 minutes to build up your kind of profile in MeetFrank, it takes like 90 seconds. So it goes really quickly. We believe into things that we call asynchronous data collection. So we need to build up your profile this kind of on-demand basis. So on the first go, there's only a couple of data points that we need to actually kind of deliver your relevant offers. And we can kind of ask you more questions if you're actually interested in any of those positions. So there's no point for you to kind of fill up a CV beforehand, because most of the information isn't relevant for the position where you apply. So we actually kind of ask that information when you make an application, and the information that we ask is highly relevant for the position. So, and over time we build a stronger profile and a stronger case for you. So I think
you don't have to build a whole resume in order to be, in order for the site to be useful. And you don't pull information from any other platform?
No.
So the user only provides all the information.
Yeah. So like on a high level, if you start thinking about it, like if you're a business customer, so what is the actual kind of data points that you need to kind of reach out to the right people? So, okay, you need a new marketer then. Okay, I need someone who is a senior marketer, doing this at least for 5 years, writing copy for a large corporation. And you want to make sure that all of those people get your message and know that the position is available. But you can see that actually the data points that we need are relatively low, small.
Yeah. Right. Great. So I would really like to welcome MeetFrank to Pakistan. I hope you and Akib together, your team here, make it a success, and so that we can invite more Estonian companies to come and target Pakistan with our huge population and lots of opportunities.
Shahjan, can I ask something?
Yeah,
of course.
Okay, great. So, since Shahjahan mentioned, we are organizing the National Education Challenge, and we are looking at all tiers of education, right from the primary school level to up to the university level. Can you share? I know the size of the population is quite different between Pakistan and Estonia. Is the Estonian population generally fluent in English? Do they study English as an international language? Or since we have a challenge in Pakistan, the urban Pakistan has English penetration, but the rural Pakistan does not speak English really well, and the medium of instruction is in the local language, which is Urdu. So, how difficult it is for an Estonian student to be truly international and global uh, while they're studying and they're studying in Estonian or their own language. Uh, so so where do they get the exposure of English? I just wanted to know that.
So if you look at the Estonian education system, then Estonian education has always been multilingual, multiple languages learned in starting from primary school, and it's I think almost compulsory. So we start learning English sometimes from the first grade, but probably from the third or fourth grade. And Estonians, especially the younger generation, speaks at least two, but in most cases, three languages. So it has been and it is a huge part of our educational system. So yeah, younger audience speaks fluent English. Now, if we talk about the kind of people over 40 years and something like that, then their English levels are a little bit lower, but the younger audience is all really fluent in English. But it starts from the educational system. Yeah.
That's great. And when usually the case the an Estonian child is exposed to something like coding, uh, robotics, and all these disciplines, the what we use the buzzword of fourth industrial revolution. When do they get this chance to be exposed to robotics and artificial intelligence, or working or coding for that matter? Is it at the school level, primary level, or at the university level?
Well, it's mostly kind of school, middle school, or even primary level. But now it's individual. So the kind of computer or kind of everything related to technology is part of the national education program, I think. But there's also a lot of extra curriculum organizations and activities that actually involve technology and robotics. So there's a large organization in Estonia called Robotics that focuses on that area. But yeah, technology is something that is brought in, yeah, again, like from fourth or fifth grade quite heavily to kind of make sure that you're kind of technology proficient quite early on.
That's great. That's great. So anyone in the audience, anyone wants to ask, they can raise their hand and ask question before we conclude. No questions?
Yes, that's what.
Okay, that's great. So
Okay.
that's great. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you,
Any
Kaarel.
concluding note?
Kaarel, if you could just say something in the end about
Yeah.
your mission here and how we can help you.
Well, like first of all, thank you for the talk. It was great. Our mission is the same, to empower the talent side in Pakistan and make sure that the right talent and right companies will be connected in the easiest way possible. And we definitely need help and support of the local community. So we will definitely reach out in the upcoming weeks or upcoming months and see if we can actually cooperate even further. And we're happy to help you in any way possible. So just let us know.
Yeah. That's great. We're happy to support you and your mission here. We also feel that it's really important that we have more cross-border collaboration with various ecosystems, and when ecosystems come together, I think that creates a lot of value. You are doing great innovative work, and we have a large number of people. So we have in Pakistan, your total population is about 1.4 million. I think we have about 500,000 children going to university right now. So and obviously 1/4 of them graduate every year. So that's a pretty large number that you can work with, and also connect them to the European market. I think that's also a great opportunity both for you and for us. Thank you so much for being with us.
Excuse me, sir. I have a question, if I'm allowed.
Yeah, of course.
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Kaarel. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm really glad MeetFrank has targeted Pakistani market. So my question to you is, how can a Pakistani target the Estonian market?
Well, like, of course, it depends on the service and what's your kind of intentions in targeting the market. Would you like to kind of open up your business operations here, or would you like to move here?
Yeah, probably incorporate a company in Estonia.
Yeah, so like something we briefly discussed at the start of this call is the e-residency program that helps you to kind of use the digital services that we have over here for kind of launching your business or managing your business and operations. We also have an organization called EAS Enterprise Estonia that is built for this kind of multinational collaboration projects. So their main objective is to connect Estonian companies with outside companies and make the connections. So this is a great resource to kind of look up and dig into, and if you have more kind of formulated thing in your mind, to contact them, and if you want to kind of reach out to startup community, then Startup Estonia is a great place to start, or if you and a lot of kind of small incubators, especially kind of startups, if you want to operate in this region, and they help you with connections and things as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Great. Thank you, Kaarel. We're at the end of the hour. It was great having you.
Yep, perfect. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.